So I walked down the stairs and said to my wife, China, I said, should we just move to Cambodia? And she was like, yeah, okay. I was like, oh no, now I really have to do it. And it was kind of an easy decision, you know. It was like, yeah, okay, we'll do that then.
Welcome to another season of I Taught English Abroad, where we cover a range of topics from the world of TEFL. This podcast has it all, from passport stamps to recruitment, tips for teachers who want to be internet sensations, finding accommodation in far-flung locales, and so much more. Subscribe now so you don't miss any new episodes. The idea of the career changer is something we talk about a lot at the TEFL Org. We like to imagine that teaching English can be a get-out from the tiresome commute, the job that remains unfulfilling. The same old. For Andy Korterling of Can Travel Will Travel and the Pigs on Bikes YouTube channel, that's exactly what TEFL became. And while it wasn't the easiest transition from engineer in England to teacher in Cambodia, it worked out extremely well. Here's Andy's story. Andy, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm okay, cheers, Ewan. How are you?
I can't complain. So, Andy Korterling, you're, a classic example, really, really good example of something that we talk about a lot here. That's to say that you're a career changer. You've changed your career a couple of times. People who follow a particular path and decide it isn't for them anymore, or circumstances dictate a change in their life. You had that experience with engineering. Now, to give us some background, can you tell me about that and the moment that your career changed course?
Yeah, sure. So I worked for a long time in engineering, in civil engineering originally, and then through site investigation, and then ended up cleaning up contaminated land oil spills and things like this as a remediation engineer. And I was kind of pursuing a career, kind of working up the ladder, and I really enjoyed it when I first started it when I was younger. It was really good, you're out on site with the boys and you're kind of doing something that's worthwhile and you're building something that's going to benefit people, and the natural progression is to work up to a management position. And I was working as a project manager for a mediation company, and they're a great company, and there's really, really nice people to work for, really great crew to work with. One day, the next position up the food chain become available, and I looked at it and I thought, you know what, I don't want to do that. It's a job that you're so far removed from where I started and was enjoying it that it just became, you're just basically a bean counter, just spreadsheets, jumbling numbers, trying to meet budgets and things like this. And I thought, just dull. And 40 something, I can't do this for another 25 years. It's not what I want to do. So yeah, I've slowly becoming more and more disheartened with it, and just not enjoying it really. And I thought one day, I thought, why don't I just change? Why don't I just do something else? And I thought, what do I really want to do? And my wife and I really love traveling. We really like every opportunity we were taking, as longer holidays as possible, and going and seeing places. And one of our favourite places was Southeast Asia, and we've a lot of friends in Southeast Asia as well. So one day I had a fairly mundane day in the office. I was working from home actually, but mundane in the home office. And so I walked down the stairs and said to my wife, China, I said, should we just move to Cambodia? And she was like, yeah, okay. I was like, oh no, now I really have to do it. And it was kind of an easy decision, you know. I was like, yeah, okay, we'll do that then. And then it's kind of like, well, I can't just move there because, obviously you've got to sustain yourself. You've got to have some kind of income. Right, what should I do? Well, it's, oh, what do other people do? Oh, a lot of people teach English. So how do I do that? It wasn't an overnight process. It's sort of 2 years in the making from deciding, or maybe a year and a half deciding to actually doing it. So the next time we went to see our friends in Cambodia, one of them was an English teacher, He'd been there for about 14 years or something. And I said to him, I said, how did you start teaching English? Because he wasn't a young fella, he was in his 50s. And he said, no, I did a TEFL. And I said, you don't need anything else? He was like, nope, at the time, I just needed a TEFL qualification. I was like, okay, better do one of them then.
Talk to me about retraining, because something that's come up in your career a few times is that you would retrain. You went back to university, I believe, as well. So, what was the sort of retraining for being a TEFL teacher like compared to the experiences you had before? What did it feel more like? Did it feel more like there was a career there, something that you could be passionate about long term than the sort of training you'd done before, or was it different in any way?
Brutally honest, it was just a means. It was just a means to an end. It's like I want to go and do other things in life. I need um, a career that's going to enable me to do this, and this is one option that I think I could do. So it was kind of just finding the easiest way to get from where I was to where I wanted to be, and whatever I needed to do, whatever my wife and I needed to do to get there, because my wife also did a TEFL qualification as well. Whatever we needed to do to achieve our goals, kind of thing. So whilst I was doing it, it was kind of just didn't really think too much about it. It was just a jumping through hoops thing. It's like, I need to finish this course. It's an online course. Let's do it. And it wasn't until actually after completing it, and it I probably didn't think too much about it until I'd actually got a teaching job.
And to just kind of go back to before you decided to make that move, was it just your career that made you feel that you had to make a move? Was there anything sort of happening, where you were based? Was there anything that was making you kind of disillusioned at home that made you thought like, I don't know, I need to get out of here? Was there anything kind of going on in the background?
I think it was just for both of us. It was just a quest for adventure. It's like, I need to do something different. I can't do this 9 to 5, Monday to Friday for the next X amount of years. However many years we've both got left. There's got to be more to it than doing this. And and actually, it was a very nice job. We had a really nice life. We're both sort of career professionals. We had the television and the car and the house and things, and it was kind of, you work all of your life until you've got that, because you think that's what you want, and then when you've got it, it's kind of, God, this is boring, isn't it? And when you realise that you don't want to go further up the ladder as well, it's kind of like, well, now what? It's just kind of in the doldrums, floating, and not having a personal goal to try and achieve. Um, yeah, so but there wasn't anything bad going on. It was just there wasn't enough good things. I mean, it was good, but it was just kind of, I guess it was a grass is always greener kind of thing.
And did you have, I mean, beyond, and you described it kind of as a means to an end, but had you ever expressed any interest in teaching or the English kind of teaching English as a foreign language before, travel came into it? Was there ever sort of inkling of, oh, I could do that? Or was it definitely very much a case of it was a means to explore in this part of the world that you'd become familiar with and that you wanted to move to?
Yeah, it was kind of that. Like I say, it was an option that was going to allow us to achieve what we wanted to do. Um, I was kind of teaching. I was teaching practical skills to the junior engineers and things like this in my career previous. Anyway, so I kind of enjoyed the teaching and passing on knowledge, and allowing people to develop themselves, and to increase their skills, and to be better engineers and things. And similarly, during my civils career, I had other people kind of mentor me a little bit as well, and sort of say, no, Andy, you can do this better, you can do that better. Let me show you how to do that. And I was kind of, oh, that's kind of nice. So I mean, there's various options of being able to travel around and do what you want to do, kind of thing. And the teaching was sort of the most suitable for our situation, if you like.
You described there you had quite a sort of you had a comfortable life, and was there any sort of, was it all ambition, was it all kind of exploration, was it were there any feelings of nervousness or any sort of kind of reticence before heading out to Cambodia, which is something we'll explore momentarily? Did you have any sort of feelings of like, oh, okay, this maybe is a mistake, or was it all very much like a clear picture to you that this was the absolute right thing to do at this time?
Good question. I don't know really. It was 7 years ago now, so it's kind of, yeah. I mean, I guess I was excited. I knew that we'd be able to do it. There wasn't ever any doubt in our minds that it would happen. We left enough of a safety net to be able to go back again, go home again if you want, and in fact we did have to do that a couple of years later for family reasons. We had to go back to the UK and um, go back to our old life kind of thing momentarily, sort of for a year or so. We did that. Um, so the nervousness, yeah. I mean, it's just anytime you move house, then you move to a different country. There's certain feelings that you get, you sort of. But generally, it was excitement.
And can you tell me about your relationship with Cambodia up to that point? Because you hinted at it before that you'd friends over there. Was it always going to be Cambodia? Was there anywhere else that was kind of on your list before you headed out there?
My my wife's Tanya's travelled a lot in Central and South America before we met each other, and I'd travelled a lot in Nepal and Southeast Asia and places like this. But when we were invited to our friend's guest house in Cambodia, and we started going there kind of every year or every year and a half kind of thing, just taking a couple of weeks out and going and spending time with them. And it's kind of, you stop being a tourist at that point, And where we were it was right next to Angkor Wat, and it's in the middle of Cambodia, and we travelled Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, all of these places, Malaysia, Borneo, and all of these kind of places. I really like the environment, but it was always Cambodia. But for our first kind of step out of leaving the 9 to 5 English thing, um, we chose Cambodia because we had friends there and connections there, and we knew it, and it would be an easy transition. So the first port of call was Cambodia.
Tell me what it felt like to, obviously you'd been there as you say, as a tourist, but what does it feel like kind of stepping on Cambodian turf for the first time, knowing that this was going to be your home? Did it feel much different?
Yeah, because we had to go to work, and actually, our first month or so, we were actually relief managing our friend's guest house. So I didn't go straight into English teaching. I actually went there and had a job to do, and I kind of had to hit the ground running. We had a 3-day handover period, um, and this is the staff. This is what you have to do with the finances kind of thing. So I did banking. This is and that was kind of lucky because um, you're immediately in the society. You're immediately kind of functioning and doing things, and it's not a holiday. It was long hours. It was like 18-hour days split between us, 7 days a week for a month. So you're immediately thrown in the deep end of doing things and having to get to grips with it. Um, and we were lucky to have that position because it made it kind of easy. We were already in a business that was operating successfully and it was functioning. So all I was doing was just basically filling somebody else's shoes and doing the things that were on the checklist that they'd given us. So yeah, it's kind of easy. And then obviously after that, then I needed to find a job. But the thing about that was, as working in the guest house, there was a lot of expat people used to come in. They had a lot of friends, and it was easy to make the connections and to find work.
And we'll talk about finding work in Cambodia after this short break.
Feeling inspired? Fancy trying something completely new? will make your best move yet by signing up for a TEFL course with the most highly accredited provider on the planet. Here at the TEFL Org, we offer a range of online and classroom courses that you can study at your own pace. All of our courses include top-of-the-range teaching materials and come with dedicated tutor support from experienced and highly qualified TEFL experts. And what's more, we'll give you money off to do it. Just enter the code PODCAST at checkout to get 50% off any of our internationally recognised TEFL courses. And that includes our best-selling 120-hour Premier Online course. With that code, you'll not only get 50% off, but you'll also get a free lesson plans pack. Within a matter of months, you could be a qualified TEFL teacher, out there exploring the world, or working to your own schedule from home as an online English teacher. Just use the code PODCAST at checkout to get started.
And we're back with Andy Korterling. Now, after becoming qualified, how long did it take you to become qualified, and how shortly after was your first class?
Okay, right. So I did the 120-hour course. I did the 100-hour course online, and then the 20-hour classroom based. So the online part, that was relatively fast. I did that at night time, and so after finishing work, because I'm working from home anyway by then, working in the office in the spare room at home, and it was okay, finish work, and I just do that until I hit the end of a unit or I hit a milestone in it or something. Do that every night until it's finished. And it wasn't difficult, it was a learning experience. And there were things that I had to study a little bit more, Google. I did some of the assignments, and some of the assignments were kind of sent back, and it's, oh, you could improve this by doing this, and it's okay, fine, it's like, do that. So there's a little bit toing and froing, but it wasn't a long process. Not, I can't remember it being arduous or difficult. Or the 20 hours classroom, they were 2 10-hour days, quite a lot to take in, but the teacher was a very good teacher, teaching a diverse bunch of people. Passed the course, got the certificate. Then I didn't need it for, I think it was 7 months or something before passing the TEFL, and then going on and actually getting on the plane and going to Cambodia, and then a month babysitting my friend's guest house, which actually turned into 3 in the end for various reasons. Ended up there for 3 months, and then it was like, right, I need to get a job. So through friends and people that we knew, there was an international school, and they were looking for teachers. So I applied for the job, went for the interview, and the guy interviewing me, head of English in the school, he said, okay, so, you've not got a great deal of experience. I said, well, I've got experience. A long time ago, I worked in the youth and community service as well in England, training junior engineers to do this. I've got some kind of teaching experience. And he was like, okay, so what qualification have you got? I said, I've got one from TEFL.org. And he goes, oh, so have I. That's how I started. Fine. And that was the end of the interview.
All right. Well,
He was like, can you start Monday? I was like, yeah.
I can't think of a better advert for us than that. But that shows the kind of determination and the fact that you've used kind of previous experience, very diverse experience to get into a teaching position. And that was the next question I wanted to ask, because given that career experience, the ability to problem solve and the different engineering skills that you had, do you think that helped you to kind of market yourself and position yourself as a teacher? Do you think there was a lot of transferable skills, not just teaching, but in terms of leadership and organization, that you could take from your engineering career and put into teaching? Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know really, apart from the administration side of things, because as a teacher, there's actually a surprising amount of admin that you have to do, just of different types, you know, and time management and things like this. And uh, the biggest one is people skills, isn't it? People management, classroom management is something that I actually found that quite difficult, to be honest, when I first started teaching. But it it's just another learning experience that you have to go. It's another set of skills that you find that you haven't got and you need. And that's the same with the whole of engineering, isn't it? Is like you go through or any career, I guess. Nothing remains the same. You're always retraining. Somebody who says, "Oh, I left school when I was 16, I haven't learned anything since," is that's nonsense, isn't it? Because you learn every day something new, and you have to learn something new. In engineering, it's another product comes out, or uh, another technique, or another. You're working on a different system, so you have to learn those skills to do that. So the the ability to do that, I think, you have to be kind of flexible and get ready to pick the ball up and run with it.
So, I mean, what you've described there and what you've described thus far is a pretty kind of whirlwind experience of, you move to Cambodia, you're looking after this guest house, and all of a sudden you find yourself working in international school, which is obviously it's an amazing opportunity for any teacher. So talk me through that first class because, you'd visualize this kind of move abroad, you'd made these opportunities for yourself, you'd done the qualifications, but what's it like when you're actually face to face with all these students for the first time? Can you kind of talk through that experience for us?
Yeah, terrifying. That's what that was. Yeah. No, I had a class of 35 5 and 6 year olds was my first day in class, and I don't think there's anything that's going to prepare you for that. When you're used to dealing with, you know, there's a couple of dozen hairy hairy blokes in hard hats and things, managing them, that's a piece of cake compared to 35 5-year-olds at 7:30 in the morning. You but the first day is kind of a new experience. It's it's never going to be your best day teaching ever. Um, it's probably not going to be your worst day teaching ever as well. So yeah, that's kind of fun. Um, and the school that I started working with, it's kind of an okay school. It's not the best and it's not the worst. It's kind of an average school, and they needed a teacher. So it was like this class of kids hasn't got a teacher. There you go, do something with it. Luckily, I had a teaching assistant, which is common in Cambodia for the K1 to K3 classes. And luckily, the teaching assistant was far more experienced than what I was, obviously, and so it was kind of following her lead for the first week. I don't think that's a bad thing, really. It's kind of a I can't see any other way it would have gone. She knew all of the class, she knew all the kids, she knew the individuals' needs and things like that, and who was likely to do what, and so yeah, it was okay actually. Terrifying.
Yeah, and so if I'm right, kind of reading your CV, you became quite established not only as a teacher physically in class at an international school, but you also started taking on clients for working on online teaching. I just wonder how demanding was that time wise? Was that was it easy to change your approach based on who you were teaching? Because obviously you'd go from teaching very very young kids to teaching sort of adult clients and that kind of thing. How big a test was that as at that time, a rookie English teacher?
Yeah, so I was quite lucky. Um, After working in the first school, there's a bit of a story to that actually. After working in the first school, uh, I was offered a job in another school, one with a better reputation and more money, which was lucky. Uh, so I changed schools, um, and then again I was teaching K3. Yeah, I was teaching K3 first, but then I was teaching year two, and then after that, year five, and then also they also run adult classes and the high school as well. So I ended up I ended up having classroom experience of teaching from the age of students from the age of 5 up to the age of 60. So it was it's very very different teaching all the different age brackets. Um, and they've all got their challenges, and they're all enjoyable for different reasons. The driver for teaching online was because the hourly rate of teaching online was better than teaching in the school. So we were paid by the hour as native English speakers. We were paid purely for the in the second school I worked at. The first time I worked there, paid purely for the classroom time. So if you had 5 hours classroom time, you were paid 5 hours. You weren't paid for any of your prep time, admin time, or anything like that. It was just like, yeah, yeah, you're on hourly rate. That was kind of nice as well, because I was doing like 2 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and 3 hours off for lunch, finished by 5 o'clock. Didn't have to do anything else, just walked straight out the door at the end of lesson. There wasn't any. It really was, and then all the prep time and all the marking and all the things, all your admin kind of stuff that you have to do is you can do that at home or you can do it wherever you want. But I used to stay at school and get it finished. So when I went home, I was finished, you know. But then it's kind of like, well, okay, I've got 3 hours in the middle of the day and evenings, and other people that I knew were teaching online. So I was like, well, let's have a look. And then it's well, if I do 1 hour a night, you know, if I do 3 hours a week or something, it's just a little bit of extra cash. And then eventually I'd built up so many online students that I thought, hang on a minute, why am I working so many hours Monday through till Friday when I can work online freelance for a higher hourly rate and work when I want? So the end result of that was I moved to working online, teaching adults.
And which companies did you work for, or did you work entirely freelance? And it sounds like you very rapidly were able to establish a reputation as a very solid online English teacher. So, what kind of adults were you working with, and how long did it take you to kind of establish that reputation? Because that doesn't just happen.
So I was kind of lucky because when I decided to change to working online, I then worked every night, and so I was basically working 7 days a week. I was working the school job, which was actually school was first class was at 7:30, so we had to be there at 7 really to set everything up and prep. Last class finished at 5:30, so you were there till 6. So you're kind of doing a 7 in the morning till 6 at night, which that was the second time I worked at the school, and things had changed by then. We were contracted by then on salaries, and which is the reason why the hourly rate was lower than the online rate. So I worked two jobs. I worked the online English teaching on Italki and Preply for a couple of months to build up enough students. So when the contract, because we're on yearly contracts, you renew your contract every year. When that contract came to an end, they said, "Do you want to renew?" I was like, "No, I'm okay. I'm going to go teach online." And then it was just building the online students. So I was kind of lucky where I wasn't reliant on the income straight away, because it's you're right, it's quite difficult to build an online presence immediately. And I found that when I started, because I also worked on Verbling for a while, and because I was new on that platform, it was kind of very slow at developing the profile and building your testimonies and things like this, I mean, the reviews and everything like this, and I actually stopped working on Verbling because it was trying to balance three online platforms. And this was a few years ago, before Google Calendar didn't kind of integrate with each platform very well. So somebody'd book a lesson, you go, "Oh, I've got to go and change the other one. No, my availability is not there. No, I can't do Monday at 9 o'clock on Verbling because I'm teaching on Italki, and it's, I've got to do the Preply thing as well. Oh, and then it's just become like just get rid of one of them, and Verbling was the one that had the least students on, so I scrapped it.
So, at that point, you're working completely online, and theoretically, you could be living anywhere in the world at this point, but you choose to stay in Cambodia. You sound very settled there. So, for people who don't really know too much about Cambodia, what's it like for for people who move over there for work? And in terms of comparison to England, because it sounded as though you were a little kind of tired of living in England. Was it something that was completely different? Was there a kind of culture shock, even though you'd been there before? Like, what was it? What was it like for you there?
So actually, we didn't stay in Cambodia. We then ended up exploring Mexico for about 6 months, and we were working our way around Mexico. And then uh, after Mexico, we went back to Cambodia for a while and continuing online teaching in Cambodia. And then we ventured back to Central America, and we did 5 or 6 months around Central America as well. Um, and then back to Cambodia again because it was kind of our base. And then COVID happened, and we were locked down. The Cambodian government were really strict on it, sort of roadblocks and army checkpoints kind of thing, and it was pretty extreme COVID there. And also at the time, I was toying with an idea of opening a business, a tourist-based business in Cambodia as well. And then when COVID happened, that kind of put that on the back burner. And I thought, what can I do for 2 years that's not going to be sitting in our apartment locked in with no garden, just a small balcony? Because I can't do this. This is like prison. I've got to go and do something else. So then we bought a house in Greece. So now we're in Greece.
Oh, well, there you go. And so, you know, I mean, that's actually it's a really interesting kind of segue into the next question because something that you told us before was you got really into travel blogging, you got into YouTube, and you kind of got up into the sort of content creation kind of field. As someone who was teaching online and someone who was kind of au fait with content creation, can you tell me about how that passion developed? And obviously, you moved around an awful lot. So, how did that sort of kind of how did that passion develop, as I say?
When we moved to Cambodia, I was for fun, really, if nothing else. I just started a YouTube channel because I'd been watching other people's YouTube channels about moving abroad. So I started a YouTube channel and I started creating all these really naff videos, terribly produced, shaky camera, phone camera footage of me walking around talking nonsense at people. And surprisingly, I didn't get any hits. There's like 4 views. And I was like, oh, great. Glad I wasted my time doing that. Anyway, I thought it was funny. So it's kind of just carry on doing it. But then it's like, why am I not? Why are people watching their stuff and not watching mine? So you start venturing into YouTube optimization and finding out, what happens here. And then also at the same time, my wife, she's chartered digital marketer. So she started off doing search engine optimization. So we both ended up. Um, I had my own travel blog. My wife's got her own travel blog. I scrapped mine because it was kind of like, why are we doing two? I'll do the YouTube, you do the travel blog, and then it's like, well, also, why not have some passive income as well? So then it's like, and content creation for myself, and then it's, well, actually, I can earn more money creating content for other people than I can out of our own blog and our own YouTube channel. It's kind of just do it for other people, and they pay you money, and then then you've got the money. Then it's kind of like, okay, I can earn some dollar doing that. So I accidentally kind of started doing that. But that's and then copywriting as well, writing copy for people's sites, and other people's travel blogs and various other weird organizations. Yeah, it kind of leads you down various paths. But the thing is I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a TEFL qualification, because when that works kind of piecemeal work. It's uncertain. The online English teaching is the backbone. It's the thing that pays the bills. It's the thing that gives us the baseline existence, and anything, and the amount of money that we kind of need to survive, and then anything else that we earn on top of that's gravy. Really, that's a bonus. So yeah, so the SEO, the YouTube optimization, copywriting, and things like that is something that was born from working online more, and sitting in front of a laptop.
We're just going to take another quick short break. We'll be right back with Andy Korterling.
Are you looking for a weekly guide to what's going on in the TEFL world? Do you want some advice on everything from job interviews to underrated TEFL destinations? Well, the TEFL Org blog has it all. Every single week, we tackle some of the biggest questions in the TEFL industry. Stay up to date with the latest trends in English teaching, find tips to make your next job application your best yet, or get inspired and read about the experiences of TEFL Org graduates teaching all around the world. Whether you're brand new to the industry or you've seen it all, we can guarantee an interesting read each week. To find out more, go to tefl.org/blog. That's tefl.org/blog.
And we're back with Andy Korterling. Now, something I wanted to ask was, you've worked in these different industries, and for all it would have been fairly significant upheaval in your life, it seems like you've done it in quite a seamless kind of way. What advice would you give, a younger version of yourself who wants to kind of take on all these different challenges and change career? Is there anything that, you wish you'd known? And equally, for people listening who want to change careers themselves, what advice would you give?
Just get on and do it. That's because, you know, it's like life's too short not to do it, isn't it? The career change thing, it's kind of a weird expression for me because I never really wanted a career anyway. I just kind of accidentally found myself having one. For me, I found myself just following a path that wasn't really one of my own design. So it's kind of leading, it was leading somewhere that I never really wanted to go in the first place. Found myself following it because kind of society and everybody else says you should do it. So, and then surprisingly, when you get to that destination, it's rubbish. So you're kind of like, oh, right. Yeah. Why am I here? It's kind of like getting a train to Hemsby, I think. I don't know. You get there and then it's like, oh, right. Yeah, great. So, yeah, just have a go because you can always go back. It's not difficult. Other people do it. Um, for example, one of my friends said to me, he goes, "Oh, my wife's pregnant. That's the end of my traveling days. We're not going to go." And go, why? They have kids in other countries. Just because just because you've got a 2-year-old, they have 2-year-olds in all these other countries. You can go to them and do things if you want to, and if you get there and you don't like it, just go home again. As long as you leave enough of a safety net, as long as you leave something to go back to, that you can, and it's not going to be easy. It's not all roses. I don't want to give the impression that it's all really really easy. It's not really really easy. There's certain challenges that you come across, but the thing is these are challenges that you come across in everyday life anyway, or they're just different challenges.
And there was something else I kind of wanted to ask there because, I think there'll be people who are in their 30s and 40s who will be listening to this podcast who might feel, that TEFL teaching and moving abroad and doing all these things that you've described are for people who are just out of uni or they're just out of school. But listening to your story it's obvious that you're maybe even better placed to do these things once you have some career experience kind of under your belt, once you have some life experience under your belt. Could you talk to that? And do you think it was easier for you to adjust to a different way of life and to a new kind of career because of the experiences that you'd had before that? I mean, do you think it made it easier for you because you had more life experience to be able to go in and completely change things for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like in the teaching side of things, I was working with a completely diverse group. Like our oldest native speaking teacher was like 66, I think. The the last time I worked in Cambodia, our head of school was like 27, I think. So uh, yeah, so he was an exceptional guy. He was a pretty he was a smart guy. Um, but you know, the different age range. I don't think it makes it easier actually if you're older or if you're younger. I think you're just different people. I think if you're older, you've got more life experience. If you're younger, you've got more energy and you're more flexible and you're less set in your ways. You know. But the thing is, actually, um, it's not too different actually when you move countries. The thing that I sort of think now is that every country, the people are almost the same. The basics of things are the same. Is that the people want today to be the same as yesterday, and they want tomorrow to be the same as today, so they can plan. They can plan their future. They want to be able to eat, have a roof over their head, do the same thing. It's the same kinds of problems that you get in the UK as in Cambodia or in Mexico or anywhere really. It's that people want their children to have a better life than what they've had and to be safe and secure. And those kind of foundations for society, I think they exist everywhere. So when you move to a different country, you're going to have to do exactly the same as what you do in your home country. It's not really very much different. It's just, I'm in Greece at the moment. The weather's hotter, and they speak Greek. It's the same thing. As people go home at the end of the day, they watch television, they go to work, they take their kids to school, they go to the shops and buy stuff, and they want to have a bigger car, and the television's still too small. These things are still the same. It's not very different. It's you know, it, and yeah, I think you can choose where you have that existence.
Just finally, I wanted to know what you're kind of up to now and how teaching's informed that, because we touched a little bit on sort of content creation, that kind of thing. So if you could tell the audience what you're up to now and how teaching led you to that path.
Okay, so at the moment, I do a multitude of things: search engine optimization, YouTube optimization, copywriting. I'm also renovating a property in Greece as well. Um, and the thing that allows us to pay all of the bills is the teaching English. That's like the go-to um, security, if you like. So having a TEFL certificate means that I can get a job in a school here. I can teach online, and all of these things give you a foundation to work from. And the thing is with teaching online, it was a little bit different earlier on, a few years ago, because the internet connection was a little bit slow in some places, particularly actually in Central America. It was difficult to find a decent internet connection to teach online. That was a bit of a challenge actually. But now internet's advanced so far that that's not really a problem anymore. So you can do it anywhere in the world, and so moving from Cambodia to Greece wasn't really a worry for the financial side of things. So I thought, hey, the worst thing that can happen is that I teach online 7 days a week, and that's really the worst thing that can happen. Or I go back to Cambodia and work in a school, or go to a different country and get a contract working in a school again, or work in a school in Greece. So it kind of gives you that stability. So, for example, now I generally teach for 3 days a week, and then I do the other stuff for 4 days a week.
I mean, it is incredible though, because with that qualification, as you say, you've been able to do kind of so much, and your life's, I mean, it sounds for all intents and purposes that you're very, very kind of you're happy and you're settled, but you've also got kind of within you there's the knowledge that you could go and set up camp somewhere else and be just as happy. So just to finish there, what's next for you, and I often ask guests like what they would tell the younger version of themselves. So, what would you tell Andy Korterling, who's working in engineering, is just a wee bit fed up? Like, what would you tell him about how the rest of your life is gone?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a difficult one, isn't it? What do you say to that? What would I say to myself? Stop mucking about at the back and pulling faces, because there's always one. No, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say. No, I probably would say that actually, but yeah, just get on and do it. Stop messing around and stop being overly cautious about making decisions, and be a bit more spontaneous with things, I think, and at the same time safeguard your future by putting a safety net underneath you, some kind of financial and um, yeah, some kind of safety net underneath you to catch you if you do fall. But don't be frightened of falling, because it's not going to hurt too much.
Well, Andy, it's been so great speaking to you mainly because you make it all sound so kind of easy, and I think a lot of listeners are going to be really, really assured by that. But it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of kind of settling in different places, and a lot of creating opportunities for yourself. And I do think that will be really, really inspiring for people. So, Andy, thank you so much for your time.
Cool, thank you, and good to see you.
You've been listening to I Taught English Abroad, a podcast series by the TEFL Org. To keep up to date with every episode, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your streaming platform of choice. And we love feedback, so feel free to leave us a review on any platform you like. For more information about the TEFL Org, or about teaching English as a foreign language in general, head on over to TEFL.org. That's TEFL.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.